singing bowl anymore? Oh, well, that makes me sad. Okay. In that case, we will light our chalice. Can I ask Karen to come and light our chalice for us this morning? Oh, you know what? We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. Thank you, Karen. Good morning. My name is Sarah, and I am the worship leader today. The UU Church is a welcoming, inclusive place where diversity of thought is encouraged, sought, and appreciated. It doesn't matter who you love or how you identify yourself. We come here because we want to think for ourselves and explore with others. We ask questions, value the exchange of ideas, and the depth that can come from being in community. If you're new here today, welcome. Thanks for coming. Even though our congregation today is very small, we know that there are many joining us in spirit as well. At this time, we would ask that you, if you haven't already, please make sure to put your phones on silent. Or if you're like me, just forget your phone altogether and leave it at home. Works. The presence of each and every one of you adds to the atmosphere, and we are glad to have you here today. Our opening reflection today comes from Tim Atkins, who currently serves as the Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration for the First Unitarian Church in Oklahoma City. And he begins with a quote by Madalsa Sharma, who said, "When hardships come into your life, it breaks you for a while. But when it is done with you, you evolve into a new person." And then Tim writes, "New Year's is my favorite winter holiday. Since 2015, I've engaged in a ritual of reflection and intention that's dear to me, choosing a word to serve as my grounding for the upcoming year. I begin this practice by reflecting on my words of prior years: joy, embrace, explore, delight, authenticity, roots, blossom. Over time, my memories become infused with the spirit and the vibe of the word I chose for that year. For example, last year I chose blossom as my word for 2022. And over the past year, I can recall thinking of how I was blossoming into a more fully realized version of myself. The next part of my ritual involves taking stock of different threads happening in my life and thinking about my hopes for the upcoming year. I narrow them down into one feeling and try to put a word to that feeling. One of the things most on my mind, and something I love most about Unitarian Universalism, is our denominational commitment to periodically assessing our beliefs and discerning whether they should evolve. I'm proud to belong to a living religious tradition that embraces evolution, both scientifically and spiritually. But deeply personal elements inform my ritual too. In December, this last December, my sole surviving grandparent, my maternal grandmother, passed away. She was the last member of that generation in my family, and with her passing, I've evolved to a new stage of life. It feels right for me to meditate on evolution this coming year. Evolve is clearly my word for 2023. Change can be scary, but evolution is exciting. How am I going to evolve to meet the challenges of this new era we live in? What's the word you want to reflect on during the upcoming year? What's the one word you want to remember your next year by? The dawning of a new year is the dawning of a new chance, a chance to right the wrongs we know we committed, to recommit to the life we choose to live, to reflect. It's a chance to start the next chapter in our story. Okay, we're a little bit out of order, but I believe there is an intermediate hymn. Okay.
This is in the grade hymnal number 58, and we're going to sing 2 and 4.
This time of year is always a time of reflection. It's a time to review where our journey through life has taken us in the past year, as well as look forward to where the new year will take us. And many of us will be making our New Year's resolutions or finding our word of intention. In order to create something new and fresh, we must first discard the old. We must let go of the past, of old ideas, of burdens, of all the challenges that have weighed us down. Lately, I have become rather entranced with furniture restoration. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on how craftspeople take an old and often worn down piece of furniture and breathe new life into it. This process can sometimes be somewhat long and complicated. And often, in order to fully restore the piece, they must first take it apart. They painstakingly remove all of the hardware, remove the top and the legs, as well as any other part that may impede a full and beautiful restoration. Then, they go to work removing the old finish. This is often accomplished with either a chemical stripper or by manually scraping off as much of the old finish as possible. Then, the whole piece is very carefully sanded down, being careful not to sand through important features such as a veneer. This removal process can be quite long and tedious, often taking days to complete. Sometimes I watch this part of the process and think about how much work is involved to remove all of the old finish and the blemishes. Why not just paint over the whole thing and call it good? Well, they can do that, and there are some that actually do just that. However, this often means covering up beautiful and sometimes expensive woods. It also means that the problem areas are not fully repaired and can cause more issues down the road. It's not enough to simply cover a piece with a fresh coat of paint. In order to fully restore it to its once beautiful glory, the artist must put in the work. And that means fully removing as much of the old finish as possible. Isn't that how life often is? It's not enough to simply make a resolution for the new year without removing the old blemishes, the tarnish, and other things that have been weighing us down. We have to work in order to remove all of the old. And of course, in order to do that, we have to first identify what it is we need to remove in the first place. What are our scars and blemishes? What old things do we need to remove in order to start fresh and make our lives even better in the upcoming year? And if we need to, what do we first need to fully dismantle within ourselves so that we can fully achieve our goals? I want you to think about anything in your lives that you feel is holding you back from being your better self. These can be negative thoughts, burdens, ideas, anything that you feel no longer serves you. And I would like you to take a moment and meditate on anything you no longer want to carry forward. Then I want you to write these down. Write down your words and thoughts on pieces of paper. Did we pass those out? Not yet. Okay, we will pass those out. I want you to write them down on your pieces of paper. No one else will see these pieces of paper. This is only for you, so you can be fully open and honest with yourself. Oh, you know what? I have them. No, that's for later. So those are the papers and these are the pens. Those out. It doesn't have to be a very big piece of paper. Now you get to do it all over again.
Yeah, like very good.
I also need a piece of paper. One piece of paper. Oh, purple. Yes, keep your pens. We'll need them later. Once you have written down your thoughts, fold up your piece of paper. Now, with intention, I would like to invite each of you up to cast your words into our sacred burning bowl or cauldron, as the case may be. This is to symbolize casting out the old and the negative so we can fully begin anew. You may now come forward. We will light it on fire. We just Let's see if this paper burns. Wouldn't that be anticlimactic? Sort of burning? This could take a moment. There we go. You can't hear it, but it sounds really good. It's okay. If it got out of hand, I have a lid. I want to go back to our furniture restoration analogy. Now that the furniture piece has been stripped of all the old, it's ready for a new finish. This is truly the fun part, but the artist must think very carefully about how they want the finished work to look. They must take into consideration things like the type of wood that they're working with, the construction of the piece, what finishes might work best, etc. This process is very intentional and done with great deliberateness. If the wrong finish is chosen, they may not get the final result they were hoping for. They must also choose the correct tools. Are they finishing with a wood oil or a lacquer or a paint or a stain? There are so many different options, and all will give a very different look to the finished product. So now, let us think on what our ultimate goals for this year are. Is it an appropriate goal for our lives right now? What can we do to accomplish this goal? What tools do we need? Do we have all we need to accomplish our goals? I invite you now to write down these goals and words of intention on our fresh cards right here. Where do you want to see yourself in 1 year, and how will you get there? I need one too. I'm just gonna. It's funny, I really like that smell. Yeah. We are writing down what we want to accomplish in the next year. And this can be a word, a phrase, a goal that you have in mind, and how you want to accomplish it. And if this might be something that you can take home and work on a little bit more as well. I want you to keep these cards in a place where you will see them often, to remind yourself continually of where and who you want to be. And remember that reaching these goals will not happen overnight. It takes work. It takes real intention. But I promise, the more you work at it, the better your final result will be. Blessed be, and amen. Do we have another musical interlude, or if you don't have one, we can go into the prayer and sacred silence. Thank you, Joseph. Join me now in a sacred meditation. Spirit of life, of journey, of hope, be with us now as we continue into this new year. This past year has been an intense journey for some of us, and for others, perhaps a joyous journey, and perhaps also intermingled. Let us reflect on all of those things, those places, those moments in our lives that have shaped where we are right now. Let us know that we are not alone, that we are a community full of strength, love, devotion. We come here together to find peace, to find our community, our people. May we always find those people in our lives, wherever our journey may take us. We pray for those who have had a particularly difficult journey, that they may find this peace. Let us be the ones to help them along their way. May we see the need of others always, and be willing and ready to help wherever needed. And perhaps by doing so, our journey may improve as well. There are some close on our minds at this time who perhaps we feel need a little boost. Please speak their names aloud now into the sacred space. Blessed be, and amen. We will now have a moment of silence. You are now all invited to come and light a candle of hope, memory, or gratitude. And you may also wish to drop a stone into our sacred gathered waters as a release of your burdens or of forgiveness. Now, please join in calling for the offering. Now please rise in body or voice and facing the center aisle, sing together the offering song printed in your order of service today. So grateful for this offering, and we promise to use it wisely in furthering the mission of our church. You may be seated now. Before we finish out our service today, we do have one announcement which Dylan will be speaking about.
All right, we actually have two announcements, so Karen will be coming up after me. So this is regarding an email that I received yesterday from the Environmental Ministry of the congregation in Salt Lake City. And it is about an inland port that is being discussed for Weber County. And so the email said, the Stop the Polluting Port Coalition just learned that the Weber County Commission is rushing to adopt a developer-driven resolution supporting creation of an 8,966 acre Utah Inland Port Authority publicly subsidized industrial park next to Great Salt Lake and in between two Utah waterfowl management areas. The Weber County Commission will be voting to support creating this 8,966 acre Utah Inland Port on Tuesday, January 2nd. So in 2 days at 10 a.m. in the Weber County Commission chambers at 2380 Washington Boulevard, Ogden. This fast-track, publicly subsidized but privately owned industrial development would occur next to Great Salt Lake on one end and the Weber River on the other, and be wedged between the Harold Crane Water Management Area and the Ogden Bay Waterfowl Management Area. For reference, the Weber County Inland Port Development Area would be larger than the area being developed in Salt Lake City. Impacts to water quality and quantity would be significant. Industrial development will destroy wildlife habitat at a time when it's already under tremendous stress and will create air, noise, and light pollution. Industrial development brings massive amounts of truck traffic and traffic congestion. What's happened so far in Salt Lake City should be a cautionary tale. The Utah Inland Port Authority has not kept any of its commitments to Salt Lake City and Utah taxpayers. An example of its poor management is demonstrated by the fact that the Port Authority is paying $140,000 a month to a developer for the next 40 years for no purpose. The same developer is among those now seeking a public subsidy in Weber County. Attend the Weber County Commission meeting and speak during public comments in opposition to this publicly harmful boondoggle. And so that's going to be on Tuesday, January 2nd at 10 a.m. at the Weber County Commission chambers in 2380 Washington Boulevard, Ogden. And there'll also be an email going out with that information this afternoon. So.
This will also be going out in your newsletter this coming week and for this next several weeks. As you all know, we have a Girl Scout troop that we co-sponsor with First Presbyterian, and we have been asked and accepted the challenge of sponsoring a regional Northern Utah service project on February 10th. It's the Girl Scouts International Day of Service, and we've decided to collect travel-sized toiletries to be put into kits by the girls with little messages in them for people who are unsheltered. So they will go to YCC and Lantern House and also the Ogden Police Department's homeless advocacy program. And so we will have a bucket out in the foyer. First Presbyterian is also involved with this, and signage and so forth. And so take a look through your house, under your sinks, wherever you keep that kind of stuff. If you want to go buy some things, You can do that if you want to make a contribution. Debbie Hackett will be available to do that collecting, starting at our first service in January. I will be out of town during that time, but we'll be back in the beginning of February to help coordinate the project.
So what's especially needed?
Oh, there's a list, going to be listed in the newsletter, but the usual suspects: shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothbrushes, toothpaste. We actually may get a lot of toothbrushes and toothpaste from some area dentists. Sunscreen, hand warmers have been asked for specifically. The little small hand warmers that are disposable. Any kind of small toiletry item. Bar soap is not suggested because it's used once and then discarded. So rather than that, if you have liquid soap, that would be better. Things of that sort. Yes, women's hygiene products, thank you very much. Washcloths are also appreciated. Shaving cream and men's shavers, the disposable shavers. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have any announcements they would like to share? All right. Once again, we would like you to rise in body or in voice and join me in singing our closing hymn today, which is Old Lang Syne. You should have been given a copy, I believe. Oh, they're in the order of service. Thank you. It's one of my favorites. As this service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words in your order of service. We extinguish the chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. Like the flame of the chalice, may the flame in our hearts burn, remaining unextinguished. May it ignite our energies, our drive, our resolve to dream, to build, and live into the world. That good which exists for now only in our imaginings. Thank you.